बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व बारिक वसल्लम व सल्ली अलैहि। अस्सलाम वालेकुम रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। कैसे हैं आफ्ताब भाई?
वालेकुम सलाम। जी मैं बिल्कुल ठीक ठाक हूँ अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह। आप लोग कैसे हैं? आप ठीक
Welcome
हैं?
to the Dallas Roundup, and I'm very humble and thrilled actually to have somebody of your stature who has been in the community for such a long time, to not only bring them a prize to the political activism but human rights activism as well. तो थोड़ा सा इंट्रोडक्शन मैं करवा देता हूँ। आफ्ताब सिद्दीकी साहब is in ex vice president for Dallas Peace and Justice Center, and he would obviously introduce the center by himself. He's a very active member of our community. He is always up to bring people on political and civic engagement. We all come to United States for an economical reason, but his motto is to have us play our role in the community in the United States, not just for our personal sake, but give it back to the community and have our fair share given back to this great country that we live in. So it is my honor and privilege to have Aftab Siddiqui Saab in our show. Welcome to the show, Dallas Roundup with Mujeeb Kazi.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you. I'm really thankful for this opportunity, Kazi.
Well, thank you. Tell us a little bit about, for our viewers, not only in the United States, but around the globe, what is Dallas Peace and Justice Center? What does it do?
Okay, Dallas Peace and Justice Center is an organization which really focuses on peace efforts. We are totally against any kinds of war, and we firmly believe that every conflict, every issue can be resolved peacefully. And so we have been against all the wars that United States has been unfortunately been involved in. That includes all the wars from 80s, 90s, because Dallas Peace Center was really formed in early 80s by a group of Mennonite church, which is a peaceful Christian group and specific. And we have been really working hard. We opposed all the wars of President Reagan. Then the first Gulf War, we stood against the Iraq sanctions in 90s, which really killed 500,000 Iraqi children, basically. And then, of course, we were continuously opposed the war in Afghanistan and then Iraq, and we worked very hard on two more issues during President Obama's time. One was to pressurize the Obama administration in not getting involved in the Syrian conflict, because that will be again bombing of another Muslim country by United States. And the other one, very important for South Asian friends, especially, was we had a very strong project and to stop the bombing by drones, especially in the Afghanistan, Pakistan tribal areas, because we know that about 1,000 civilians were killed in so many drone strikes, and which were really totally wasteful and terrible for the families in that area. I still remember those children who, whenever they heard the sound of the aeroplane or anything like that, they used to get the PTSD, and they were terrified and running into their mothers and fathers' laps and hiding under the bed or anything, because drone strikes had been really excuse me, a curse for those communities. So
this
is some of the things that I wanted to focus on. Then the other part is the social justice issue, and we have talked about the Kashmir issue, and we have a committee on the Kashmir issue, and then we do have a Middle East Peace Committee also, and then the Black Lives Matters issue, and we are against the death penalty in the United States. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, I was just trying to acknowledge and appreciate the work that you have done and your organization have done over the years. Obviously, the wars and the conflicts can only bring the miseries in the world. We have seen, just like you have mentioned, the children, running around, and but I think the number last time I was looking at these are very staggering numbers. Over 15 million people have been vanished from the face of earth for no obvious reason. Obviously, the reason that we found out 10, 20, 30 years down the road were all economical reasons. But is the taking the life of human beings for the sake of worldly gain, does that even make any sense? And at least we have a group of people in Dallas Fort Worth area in the United States who can bring the awareness and at least speak against the odds. And it needs guts, it needs courage, it needs a zeal, and obviously you got to have a commitment to do that. What are the pushbacks that you have faced over the years? Obviously, there would be numerous, but can you name a few?
Yeah, absolutely. We have been lobbying the different congressmen, elected delegation in Texas, and plus the senators, and it was difficult to make them understand the issues that we were talking about. For example, uh, on the drone issue, we had certainly good feedback because the congressmen and women had no idea what was going on and in those areas, and what devastation was happening due to the drone attacks, and causing the people in that area being becoming more and more uh, against the policies of the United States. But drone issue, we were successful, and then on the Syrian issue, we had some pushbacks from some of the senators who said who were very gung ho. They wanted to go and bomb Syria, but they were like Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. We had a detailed discussion conference call with her, and after an almost an 1 hour of discussion, she said that okay, I understand your concerns, your point of view, and I will definitely talk about it in the Congress. So, what I mean to say is that most of these elected delegation have no idea about, or very little idea about what is going on in these far off places. So when you go and talk to them and educate them, it makes a difference, frankly speaking. But of course, for 2 years when we were uh, uh, holding rallies and holding forums and writing letters to the editors and doing interviews, we weren't getting any support in the mainstream media. And like in Dallas, it was 100 degrees, and we were out there and against the protesting against the drone killings. And Dallas Morning News is right there. It's the major newspaper, and they never said anything about our efforts or the adverse efforts of the drone strikes. So, but we do understand that you have to really make your case. You have to create the effort, and gradually when you are able to convince more and more people, then there is definitely a change, because you saw that suddenly drone strikes were at the top of the news, and then Obama administration said, okay, we are going to really hold back on these drone strikes and things like that. But it takes it took us 2 years of continuous effort. So
Yeah.
it
Well, at least, once you keep raising the voice and keep protesting and keep reaching out to the elected representatives, some point in time your voices do get heard. And you mentioned that we have committees that their role is to oversee the areas of conflict, such as Middle East, Kashmir committees, and other committees who are watching the human rights violation taking place, not only in the United States, just like you mentioned that Black Lives Matters, and also, the Kashmir conflict and the Middle East conflict. So once these committees are formed, what is their role? How do they function? What is their check and balances? How they're doing their functions?
Okay, the way these our organization, Dallas Peace and Justice Center, works is that basically the major work is done by the committees. So anything regarding any action regarding the Middle East Peace Committee in Middle East, that will be handled by the Middle East Peace Committee, and their members and their chairs and co-chairs will decide the action, and if they need more help, then definitely they go to the board and ask them for help, and so that the all the resources are available to them.
So in Middle East, what is the main focal point? What is the main focal area where the Kashmir, where the Middle East committee is focused on, where the board feels that that is the area that we need to work diligently, just like the way you have worked hard on the drone issue, and you took it to the national level and even to the president. What our committee is doing for the Middle East peace. Obviously, there are not one country or two countries. There are like almost a dozen countries that are involved where human rights violation has taken place. Every other day, you see people being killed. The houses are bombed. I just want you to let us know about situation in the Middle East before we move on to the Kashmir committee.
Okay, two major issues during this last 1 year that we focused on. One is definitely the Palestinian-Israeli issue. It is an intractable situation, and we have really worked very hard to educate the elected delegation, the congressmen, women, their staff, and the senators and their staff on the injustices that are being faced by the Palestinians under the continuous occupation of Israeli military. They do not have any rights, and they are under military regime. There is no accountability for the Israeli government's actions and the military. Plus, they are in very bad economic situation. So that is one of the things, one of the issues. The other issue that we have been monitoring and really been concerned about by the Iranian issue. We are dead against any sanctions on any country, frankly speaking. What to talk about Iran, because these sanctions, they hurt the poor people, the children, the older people, the sick. Uh, uh, just look at that because of these sanctions, Iran cannot import any ventilators because of the sanctions, and the ventilators are available in the world market, but the companies don't want to get on the wrong side of United States government. So they refuse to really do any business with with Iran, and we know the this COVID-19 situation is pretty bad in Iran. Thousands of Iranians have been killed and all that. I certainly hope that that the vaccine will be available to them through United Nations. And so we have been concerned about the U.S. government's uh, very aggressive stance against Iran, and we have been on the streets at any time. We see that there is a possibility of military action against Iran. So these are the two major issues. Plus, the other issue is such a humanitarian crisis: the continuous bombing by Saudi Arabia and UAE with the help of United States on the Yemen. And I mean, 100,000, more than 100,000 Yemenis have died, and 80,000 children have starved to death. And yet, Saudis are continuously bombing. The UAE is continuously bombing. They're blasted the infrastructure, the ports of Yemen, and it is uh, unbelievable. It took us how many 18 months to push the Congress to and finally I must say that we were able to push a bill in the Congress to for United States to disassociate itself from the Yemeni war and stop Saudi Arabia and UAE from this cruel war. But we were able to pass it through House. Then took us another 6 months to pass it through the Senate, and then Trump vetoed it. But at least we know that the majority of the elected representatives in the Congress and Senate are really against this cruel war. So these are some of the issues which have been in the forefront of Middle East Peace Committee.
And what about in Kashmir? I know the Kashmir has been pretty much in the headlines for the last year and a half, ever since the Indian regime, the current regime, when they revoked Article 370 and 35A of their constitution illegally. And that has basically caged over 10 million people in an open jail, and with the help of over 1 million boots on the ground. The community facing a triple lockdown, not only just one COVID, but the lockdown of first the military came in, then the lockdown, and now the freezing cold. Do you have any update on the Kashmir issue, which is very near and dear to me?
Well, the Kashmir is definitely near and dear to all of us. In the We had been holding the Kashmir committee meetings, but then this COVID-19 thing happened, and the meetings and the activities were kind of really slowed down. But uh, it is a terrible situation in Kashmir. The Indian government um, really has been pretty bad. This is the only uh, light at the end of the tunnel that I see here, or any change, very slight change, was that there were two or three military personnel are being prosecuted for killing of Kashmiri civilians, and this is the first time in 30 years that the Indian government has taken that step. So that is a welcome thing, and I certainly hope that the Indian government will really uh, 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 hold accountable its own military for the atrocities being committed in Kashmir. Otherwise, in Kashmir, it's a pretty bad situation. Still, the business has been really very heavily affected negatively. because of the continuous curfew and completely lack of any internet and other communications. So and the schools have opened sporadically, and there's still uh, um, people being disappeared and people being killed on the streets, and the Kashmiri people going out and protest against these kinds of atrocities. But if you ask me that where we will be 1 year from now, uh, it is difficult right now. The only thing that I can think is that the Indian government thought that it will be able to uh, totally destroy the will of the Kashmiri people, and but they have failed in that. That is one thing. The other thing is that uh, uh, it has been probably for the first time after this uh, Indian government's action that all the political factions of Kashmir, have come on one point, that there are no more uh, pro India, pro Pakistani, pro China, or whatever you have. They all believe that the situation in Kashmir is very bad, very critical, and that there is no military solution to it, and that the Kashmiris will have to really struggle against the all the atrocities. And let me say one thing, that the major atrocities might be coming from India, but the Pakistani government is not very helpful either. They have really stopped the Kashmiris from saying their point of view and expressing their will on their side of the border, and they have. I won't be surprised if people have been arrested. Some Kashmiri politicians. I don't know for it to be a fact, but I have a feeling that they might have been arrested or house arrested. They have definitely been really muzzled. Let me say. Time for India, Pakistan, and China to get together and really resolve this issue, because Kashmiris have a right to live a life free of terror and free of, let's say, military occupation. And whether it will become like a Switzerland, Finland, uh, or I don't know what is going to what is the future, but I certainly hope that the future will be a peaceful and unified Kashmir, and in whatever form it is, so that they can live peacefully and the families can really come together, and they should not be really separated by the boundaries created by the other countries. So that's how I feel about it.
Really appreciate. I think you beautifully said it. To let the people of Kashmir decide what their future should hold, not that somebody from the either side of the border will come and dictate them what to do, what not to do. And I certainly hope that we are wrong in this case. We already know what's happening on the Indian side of Kashmir, but if the reports that are coming from the Pakistani side of the Kashmir, if they are being harassed for voicing their voices, that is very unfortunate, and that needs to be stopped, because that is not productive in any way and form and shape. People of Kashmir need to be given the right of self-determination, right to decide whether or not they want to be independent or be in line with any one of them, but not at the bullet point. They need to have a free will to decide what to do, what not to do, And we certainly hope that there is a peace, because there is no solution, no peaceful solution to any conflict that is out there in the world, whether it's Middle East, Kashmir, Afghanistan, or anywhere else. The solution is the peace and talk. And we certainly hope that, unlike 2020, we will dive into 2021 with the hope and prosperity, and see Kashmir being freed, the people in Middle East being freed. They have their own decision-making power without the impact and the influence of the foreign countries. With that, that brings us to end of our time. I am very humble and honored to have you on our show today, Aftabai. Thank you so very much for your valuable time and for giving us such an insightful information about what's happening around the globe and what the Dallas Peace and Justice has been doing for over the years. And we hope that more people will join the movement, and this momentum will continue, so we can change the mindset of our politicians who are up for the wars, not for the peace. We need to have them this mindset that peace is the solution, not the war. With that, thank you so very much. Do you have any final words before we close? Because we are right at the end of the show.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And I would really like to concur with you that we have to have peace. And through peace, we can resolve each and every issue. But
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you very much. That brings us to our show, end of our show, Dallas Roundup with Mujeeb Kazi. Until next time, take good care of yourself.